Overthinking is the art of creating problems that weren't even there. This quote might sound simple, but it holds a profound truth. Many of us find ourselves caught in the endless loops of our thoughts, searching for answers that don't exist, or worrying about things that might never come to pass. It's a struggle that consumes our mind, leads to sleepless nights, and often disturbs our inner peace. We all have been there, haven't we? When we face the challenges of overthinking, it feels as if our mind is a storm, chaotic and unrelenting. But what if I told you that Buddhism, an ancient wisdom that has been guiding people towards peace and clarity for over 2,000 years, offers profound answers to overcoming this mental storm? Today, let's explore how Buddhist teachings can help us tame the mind, quiet the storm, and find a way to live a peaceful, thoughtful life. Before we dive into this journey together, I want to ask you, have you ever found yourself overthinking? Perhaps it's a decision at work, a conversation that keeps playing in your head, or worrying about the future. If this sounds like something you're struggling with right now, I invite you to take a moment and reflect. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you're overthinking about, and I promise to personally respond with insights that may help guide you through this challenge. It's through these conversations that we grow together. Now, back to our topic. Overthinking can be like a tidal wave of thoughts that drowns us in its wake. We often find ourselves trapped in this mental cycle, unable to break free. The key question here is, why do we overthink? And more importantly, how can we stop it? At the heart of overthinking lies the very nature of our mind. Our thoughts are fleeting, constantly coming and going, much like the waves on the surface of the ocean. Yet, we tend to cling to them as if they are permanent, giving them weight and significance when they are, in reality, impermanent. Anicca, as we call it in Buddhism. The Buddha teaches us that everything is in a constant state of flux, and this includes our thoughts. Our minds are not meant to hold on to every fleeting idea or worry. Just as clouds pass in the sky, so do our thoughts. But why do we struggle so much with overthinking? It's because, as humans, we naturally cling to thoughts and ideas. We are attached to them, to their outcomes, and to the feelings they invoke. This attachment creates suffering, dukkha. When we allow ourselves to be attached to a thought, we magnify it. We dwell on it, let it grow, and before we know it, that single thought has turned into an overwhelming worry or fear. The more we cling to these thoughts, the more they control us, and the more we spiral into overthinking. Here, the wisdom of Buddhism provides us with a way out. Through mindfulness, sati, we learn to observe our thoughts without attachment, without identifying with them. Mindfulness teaches us to sit with our thoughts, acknowledge them, and let them go, much like a leaf floating down a stream. Instead of holding on, we learn to allow them to flow naturally, without adding our personal stories, judgments, or anxieties to them. Now, as we begin this journey of understanding, I want to invite you to pause and reflect. Overthinking is something we all experience, but it doesn't have to define us. The teachings of Buddhism show us that we are not our thoughts. We can watch them, acknowledge them, and gently let them pass. It's a practice, and it's one we can begin today. Before we continue into the deeper aspects of how we can break free from overthinking, I encourage you to take a moment. Press pause and comment below with the word Buddhism. Why this word, you might ask? Well, it's a small step towards engaging with the teachings and reflecting on how they can guide us. When you comment, I will take the time to read and respond thoughtfully, offering insights that could help you on your personal journey. Together, we can break free from the cycle of overthinking, one mindful thought at a time. Stay with me as we move into the next section, where we'll explore the deeper reasons why our minds get caught in these cycles, and how Buddhist wisdom offers practical tools to help us release our mental grip. It's time to quiet the mind, But first, let's take that step together. Comment below with Buddhism, and I look forward to responding to each of you. Have you ever noticed how a single thought can turn into an entire mental drama? A small worry suddenly becomes a catastrophic fear. A passing memory turns into an endless loop of regret. A simple decision starts to feel overwhelming. It happens so fast, so naturally, that we don't even realize we're doing it. But here's something important to remember. Your thoughts are not reality. They are just thoughts. The Buddha once said, "Whatever a monk keeps pursuing with his thinking and pondering, that becomes the inclination of his awareness." In other words, what we think about repeatedly shapes our mind. If we constantly dwell on worries, our mind becomes conditioned to do just that. If we keep replaying old regrets, we train our mind to live in the past. Overthinking is nothing more than a habit, one that can be changed. But why do we overthink in the first place? Why does the mind cling to certain thoughts and refuse to let go? Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent, anicca. This applies to our thoughts too. They arise, exist for a moment, and then fade away. But instead of letting them pass naturally, we grab onto them. We hold on, analyze, and obsess, turning fleeting thoughts into something far bigger than they really are. It's like standing by a river, watching leaves float by. If you just observe, they drift away. But the moment you reach out and grab one, it stays with you. Overthinking happens when we grasp onto thoughts that were meant to pass. And yet, we keep doing it. We replay conversations, analyze what someone meant, stress over future possibilities, thinking that somehow, if we just think long enough, we'll find certainty. But certainty never comes, because life itself is uncertain. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you worried about something that never actually happened? How much energy have you spent overthinking the past when the present moment is right in front of you? There's a term in Buddhism for these mental patterns, samskara. It refers to the habits and conditioning of the mind. Over time, we build thought patterns just like any other habit. If we let our minds spiral into overthinking every time we feel uncertain, our mind learns to do it automatically. But here's the good news. Just as these mental habits were created, they can be unlearned. The first step is awareness. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, take a moment to pause. Just notice what's happening in your mind. Don't judge it. Don't try to push it away. Just observe. See the thought for what it is. Just a thought, not reality. The more you practice this, the more you'll begin to see that you are not your thoughts. Now, I want to take a moment to hear from you. What kind of thoughts tend to trap you? Are they worries about the future? Regrets about the past? Anxieties about what others think? Take a deep breath, and if you feel comfortable, share in the comments. I'll personally read and respond, offering insights that might help you see things more clearly. And before we continue, I have a small challenge for you. If this talk resonates with you, take a second to comment below with the word Buddhism. Why? Because when you do, you're making a small commitment, not to me, but to yourself. A commitment to start observing your thoughts instead of being trapped by them. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore why attachment fuels overthinking and how Buddhist wisdom offers the key to letting go. If you've ever struggled with thoughts that won't leave you alone, you won't want to miss this. Stay with me. Have you ever wondered why some thoughts seem impossible to shake off? You try to let go, but they keep coming back, pulling you in, making you anxious, restless. It's like a song stuck in your head, playing on repeat, no matter how much you try to ignore it. Buddhism teaches that the root of this mental struggle is attachment, the mind's tendency to cling to thoughts, emotions, and outcomes. We overthink because we want certainty. We crave answers, We want things to go our way, and when they don't, the mind keeps turning, searching for control over something that was never meant to be controlled. Think about it. When we replay past conversations, what are we really doing? We are clinging to the idea that we could have said something differently, that we could have changed the outcome. When we overanalyze a decision, we are grasping for the illusion of the perfect choice. When we stress about the future, we are trying to predict the unpredictable. The Buddha called this tanha, craving, thirst, the constant desire for things to be a certain way. And what happens when we don't get what we want? We suffer. We overthink. We become trapped in mental loops, trying to force reality into the shape of our desires. But here's a simple truth. No amount of thinking can change the past. No amount of worrying can control the future. Realizing this is powerful. It means we don't have to keep fighting with our thoughts. We don't have to carry this mental weight. The moment we stop resisting, stop trying to control everything, a new kind of peace becomes possible. So how do we begin to let go? First, we must recognize that not all thoughts deserve our attention. Just because a thought appears in the mind doesn't mean it's important, doesn't mean it's true. Our minds generate thousands of thoughts every day, some useful, some meaningless, some completely irrational. The problem isn't the thoughts themselves. The problem is our attachment to them. Imagine holding a rope tied to a heavy rock. The more you pull, the more exhausted you become. Letting go doesn't mean the rock disappears. It simply means you stop carrying its weight. Your mind works the same way. Letting go of unnecessary thoughts doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing where to place your attention. One powerful technique is to name your thoughts without engaging with them. When an anxious thought appears, instead of following it, simply say to yourself, here's a worry about the future. When a regret arises, acknowledge it. This is a thought about the past. By doing this, you create space between yourself and the thought. You see it as something separate from you, instead of something that controls you. This practice may seem simple, but it's transformative. The more you do it, the more you realize that thoughts come and go, just like clouds in the sky. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. I know this might sound easier said than done, and that's why I want to hear from you. What is one thought you've been struggling to let go of? Share it in the comments, and I will personally read and respond with insights that may help. You don't have to fight these thoughts alone. Together we can learn to release them. And before we move forward, let me ask you one thing. If this message resonates with you, if you feel like this is exactly what you needed to hear today, I invite you to take a small but powerful step. Comment below with the word Buddhism. Why? Because that single action is a reminder to yourself, I am ready to let go. I am ready to find peace. In the next part, we'll go even deeper into the practice of mindfulness, how to train the mind to stop overthinking and return to the present moment, where life is actually happening. If you've ever wished you could quiet your mind, you won't want to miss this. Stay with me. The mind is like a restless monkey, jumping from branch to branch, never still. Overthinking happens when we let that monkey run wild. But what if we could calm it? What if we could train our mind to stop chasing every thought and simply be present? This is where mindfulness, sati, comes in. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, not lost in the past, not anxious about the future, but completely aware of what is happening right now. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful tools Buddhism offers for quieting the mind. When we are mindful, we see thoughts for what they are, just passing clouds in the sky of our awareness. We don't have to grab onto them, analyze them, or let them control us. We just notice and let them go. Try this now. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. That's mindfulness. That's being present. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause. Instead of following the thought, bring your attention back to your breath. Watch the thought, but but don't engage with it. Let it come and let it go, just like a wave returning to the ocean. This simple shift, observing instead of reacting, can change everything. And now, I want to hear from you. What is something that often pulls you out of the present moment? Share it in the comments, and I'll personally respond with insights that may help. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to comment Buddhism. It's a simple way to remind yourself that peace is possible, right here, right now. In the next part, we'll explore the art of letting go, how to release the thoughts that no longer serve us, and find true mental freedom. Stay with me. Why do we hold on to thoughts that hurt us? Why do we replay mistakes, obsess over decisions, or worry about things beyond our control? The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering. When we attach ourselves to a thought, we give it power. We turn a passing cloud into a storm. But here's the truth. You don't have to hold on. You can let go. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means accepting things as they are, without resistance. Imagine holding a rope tied to a heavy stone. The more you pull, the heavier it feels. But the moment you let go, the weight disappears. The same applies to your thoughts. When a worry arises, instead of fighting it, simply acknowledge it. Here's a thought about the future. Then let it drift away, just like a leaf floating down a stream. Try this. Close your eyes. Picture a thought that's been troubling you. Now, imagine placing it on a leaf and letting it float away. Feel the relief of releasing it. Letting go is a practice. The more you do it, the lighter you'll feel. Now, I want to hear from you. What is one thought you know you need to release? Share it in the comments, and I'll personally respond with insights to help you let go. And if you're ready to take a small but powerful step, comment Buddhism. This isn't just a word. It's a signal to yourself that you are choosing peace over worry. In the next part, we'll talk about compassion, how kindness toward yourself and others can silence the voice of overthinking. Stay with me. When was the last time you forgave yourself? Truly, without judgment or guilt. Overthinking often comes from self-criticism. We replay mistakes, worry about what others think, and hold ourselves to impossible standards. But the Buddha taught that compassion, especially for ourselves, is the key to freedom. Think about how you would comfort a friend who is struggling. You'd offer kindness, not criticism. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we are often harsh and unforgiving. But here's a truth worth remembering. You are human. You will make mistakes. And that's okay. Practicing loving kindness, metta, can help quiet the mind. Try this simple exercise. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Silently repeat, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering." Now think of someone else and send them the same wish. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. The more we practice compassion, the softer our thoughts become. The mind stops fighting itself and begins to heal. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What is one way you can be kinder to yourself today? Share in the comments, and I'll personally respond. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to comment Buddhism. It's a simple but powerful reminder. I am choosing self-compassion over self-criticism. In the next part, we'll explore practical techniques to stop overthinking in daily life. Stay with me. Understanding overthinking is one thing. Stopping it is another. The good news: you don't have to be a monk to quiet your mind. Small, simple changes in daily life can make a big difference. Here are a few techniques that Buddhist teachings offer. The 5-breath reset. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, pause. Take 5 slow, deep breaths. Feel the air enter and leave your body. This instantly brings you back to the present moment. Name the thought. When a worry appears, instead of getting lost in it, label it. This is just a thought about the future. Naming your thoughts creates distance and stops them from controlling you. The 1-minute rule. If something takes less than a minute to do it immediately. Overthinking often comes from avoiding small tasks that pile up in our minds. Mindful walking. The next time you walk, slow down. Feel your feet touching the ground. Notice your surroundings. When your mind wanders, gently return to the present. Gratitude. Pause. Before bed, name 3 things you're grateful for. Gratitude shifts focus from worries to the goodness in life. The key is consistency. These small practices may seem simple, but over time, they reshape how your mind works. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these techniques will you try first? Let me know in the comments, and I'll personally respond. And if you're ready to take this journey further, comment Buddhism. Let this be your commitment to bringing mindfulness into your life, one small step at a time. In the final part, we'll reflect on everything we've learned and leave you with a powerful message to carry forward. Stay with me. We've covered a lot on this journey, from understanding why we overthink to learning how to let go, practice mindfulness, and embrace self-compassion. But the real question is, what will you do next? Buddhism teaches that wisdom is not just about knowing, but about practicing. A peaceful mind doesn't come from waiting for thoughts to disappear. It comes from training the mind, one moment, one breath, one small shift at a time. So, I invite you to take this wisdom beyond this talk. Try just one technique today. Whether it's taking 5 mindful breaths, labeling your thoughts, or practicing gratitude, just begin. And remember this, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Now, before we end, I want to ask you one last thing. What is the biggest lesson you're taking away from this talk? Share it in the comments and I'll personally respond. And if you're truly ready to step into mindfulness, type Buddhism. Not for me, but for yourself. As a reminder that peace is already within you, waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for being here. May you be happy. May you be free. May your mind be at peace. Until next time.